Queens is a commercial real estate brokerage that specializes in commercial leasing in Queens. We do all types of other stuff though. Um, we are a growing company. We have 15 plus agents now. By the end of January, I expect that number to be much more. We got like 30 listings. Well, I have like 30 listings. No, not that much. I have like 20 something listings, and the rest of the agents have some wonderful listings as well. We all work together, and yeah, quick note. I always start this with a quick note. So I have no idea what I'm going to talk about in terms of my quick notes. I'm going to talk about what I spoke about with my office manager in the morning. In real estate, you have to deal with a lot of people, different agents, different tenants, different clients, different buyers. But we're in the middle of the transaction. So our goal on any transaction is to get the deal done for our client. That's what the client wants, presumably. And sometimes you run into situations where someone is being very unprofessional to you or calling you at all odd hours of the time. You see this a lot in residential because open houses are on the weekends, and then you get tons of calls from the open houses. You get texts and calls like 9, 10 at night. Then Monday to Friday, you're supposed to be working because that's the work week. And everyone says, I'm so exhausted. I work 7 days a week. I do text at night. And at times it gets exhausting, especially when you're dealing with people who are being mean to you and badgering you about stuff. You want to do things in your own time. So, of course, I always am super duper nice and service oriented to everybody, and I'm trying to get deals done for my clients. But so when people start asking crazy questions or start pushing a little too hard, I try to be nice, and no problem, I'll still accommodate you. Then they start pushing over the edge, and natural reaction is to get upset or to do something. But again, we're in the middle. So one, we want to get paid, and we don't want to tell our client, oh, we got into a fight, so the deal died, right? I don't know if that's gonna fly. So you can just say, hey, if you're gonna talk to me, let's keep it professional, right? You can say, hey, thanks for the text, but my office hours are Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and I'll respond as soon as possible. It's okay to turn your phone in silent. It's okay to tell people to chill. And sometimes they keep going. What I personally do is, if it gets there for real, or not there yet, but if it really gets to another level, I'll say, hey, I'm here to service this transaction. I have no problem doing that. Whoever you are, crazy person. But what are your questions? I'm going to jot them down. And as soon as I can respond to you, I will do that. And thank you for coming. Now you got to go. And then blah, blah, blah. You got to go. Close the door. See you next time. Monday morning, here's a response to your questions. Let me know if you have any other questions. So you always do things on your own time. No, don't let people push you to get angry or upset. And the more professional you get, the more you know what you're doing, the more you're able to handle that. And of course, if they're going super overboard, then it's time to speak to your broker or lay down the law for real and send a lawsuit or call the police or protect yourself. If it goes beyond work, then we're talking about something else. All right. So anyway, today we're talking about the listing agreement, and I just want to pull up my Zoom functions real quick. Today we're talking about the listing agreement, and this is really important. And the reason why it's important is because this is what gets you the exclusive listing, and this is what guarantees you make money, and this is what officially is the official document that hires you to work on a property, right? So if you're familiar with real estate, everyone's like, you got to get the exclusive. Did you get the exclusive? If you're co-broking or you're bringing some other broker to a listing, they're like, do you have the exclusive? Because if you don't, I'm just going to go around you, right? How much commission is exclusive? Are you co-broking? These are all things to solidify that you are the point person for the property and that you're going to get paid. And through that solidification, you're able to co-broke and work deals with other agents because they're depending on you to fulfill your side of the deal and get them paid. Real estate has a lot of gray area, so if you don't have that, it just adds to the gray area, and really this is a very big gray area if you don't have the exclusive. So it really messes up deals by not having them. And I think for the most part in the market, in Queens at least, most people don't have the exclusives. So it's also important because it maps out the process, right? So you want to know as a new agent, this is speaking to new agents. We talked about due diligence. We talked about due diligence on a property. So you go research the property so you understand what you're talking about. Then we talked about the facts of the property, how big it is, when it was built, what's the zoning. Then we talked about the different terms. These aren't facts. These are what the owner wants from your services. What's the price? How long of a listing? When it's available? These things change over time. They're flexible. So at that point, then you say, okay, I know the property. I know what you want. Now I need you to sign this listing agreement so I could begin working on the property. And a lot of the time, what agents do is that they just download the listing agreement, or they get that 3-page carbon copy from the MLS, and they're like, I got the listing agreement. Let me just throw this at the seller, or in some cases, if it's a buyer's agreement, the buyer, the tenant, and say, sign this, please. And that works. Like a lot of things in real estate, you can just kind of do whatever and hope it works. And for the real hustlers out there, especially as new agents, you got to do that. Like you got to do what you got to do. And if you do enough activity, you can make money and learn and survive and get better. But at the end of the day, we want to take this approach of just doing everything possible and start defining it more and whittling it down so that it becomes more accurate. And instead of 10 listing appointments and getting one, you do 5 listing appointments and getting one, right? Instead of pricing 10 listings the wrong way, you only price 5 the wrong way, you don't waste your time. Instead of getting 10 listings and only closing one, you get 10 listings and close 5, right? And that's going to be the real difference maker in whether you survive in this business and if you really make some real money in this business. And as you get better, it even gets better. Like people call you because they know you're legit and they want you to do their business. So I'm going to pull up a listing agreement right now. And this stuff is like, to be honest, it's ultra boring for me. But the structure is super important for new agents. Once you get the structure down, look, the structure, all these classes I'm teaching, this stuff is easy, right? It's hard at first, but at the end of the day, it's super easy. And you learn the structure of how to operate and you gotta map it out in your head. Then you can start going super hard and put your energy in the right direction, and then learning like real brokerage stuff, which I personally love to talk about. So if there's no documents and we're just talking about like how to, all the little nuances, how to negotiate, how to build relationships, how to discuss terms, how to get a good reputation, all that stuff, like that's what I really love. But anyway, so I'm just going to share my screen real quick somehow. Oops, sorry. All right, I'm going to share my screen. to listing agreement. All right. So this is a sales listing agreement. So everybody get your screenshots out and copy this stuff down. Because after this lesson is going away, actually it's going to be on YouTube. But you never know when I might just take everything offline and and keep it private. So this is an opportunity for you to figure this stuff out and use it for your own. You got your logo on top. Every document should have a header. Date, name, company name, street address, and city and zip. This is just who it's addressed to. And if you remember from last week's class, the company name, you can search it on Oasis, and then you pop that in the DOS, and you could have the official address. It makes it a little more official. This is a sales document. It says like whatever portions of the premises or address. A lot of the time for a sale, it's just going to be like the address, like the whole building. And you say, dear name, and I highlighted everything to make it super easy for everyone and myself. This letter shall confirm that name of or owner hereby appoints Project Queens. What these little parentheses means is like in the future, anytime it says owner or just Project Queens, it really represents this. Anytime in this whole document, if it says references the property, it really means this address, right? It's legalese stuff. This letter shall confirm, Michael, that Mr. John hereby appoints Project Queens as its sole and exclusive representative with the exclusive right to sell the property, right? So it gives us the exclusive. And the first term here, and every listing agreement is the same, different, but kind of similar. The term of this agreement shall commence on the date hereof, dates, and expire on this time. That's the expiration, right? And it shall continue thereafter on a month-to-month basis until canceled by either party. So that's an important note. 2, the owner shall cooperate with Project Queens during the term of this agreement and shall promptly refer to Project Queens all offers and inquiries with respect to the property. Project Queens shall have the exclusive right to negotiate all offers and may at any time refer such offers for continued negotiations by the owner's representative. Unless otherwise authorized, all submitted offers shall be approved by the owner before accepted by Project Queens. So it's saying if the owner gets any inquiries directly, they're going to send it our way, and we're going to do our thing with our marketing and our negotiations and with our current knowledge of what's going on with the property. Owners allowed to reject any offers that come through any time, and they can approve any offers at how they want. Number 3, so this is like the dates. They're going to send all offers our way. Project Queens at its sole cost and expense, except for noted in paragraph 6, shall develop all offers and inquiries and shall canvass, solicit, and otherwise use its commercially diligent efforts to bring about the leasing of the property. This is a sales agreement. All right, so I got to change that to sales. Whatever, I'll do later. So this is saying that we are going to spend all the money to market. And yes, the marketing does cost a lot of money. Last class, we talked about CoStar and how much it costs, but then you have to make banners, MLS fees, you have a bunch of different stuff. Project Queens is hereby authorized to solicit the cooperation of other licensed real estate brokers, outside brokers, not in the employ of Project Queens, if a lease or transaction contemplated by the terms of agreement of this agreement is affected. Basically, this is a co-broke. So it says we're allowed to use other agents to co-broke. And it says if the agreement is affected where an outside broker or finder is a procuring cause. Procuring cause is a very important clause in real estate. It's very legal. And it says that if you are the person responsible for finding the buyer or tenant for the deal, then you are the procuring cause. And that is the main reason and legal definition of why we're due a commission. It's because we found the other person. It's very, very important. After that, it says, then the owner shall pay Project Queens 1 full commission payable in accordance with the commission rate schedule attached here, right? And in accordance with paragraph 5, which Usually I have it on a Schedule A on the bottom, but okay, let's see what's this. We have to update this a little bit. Project Queen shall split such commission with outside broker pursuant to a separate agreement between the parties. So I negotiate my agreement. Usually those brokers have their own demands. They send a co-broke agreement that needs to be signed, and at closing, that's their legal document to see what they're entitled to. Number 5. In consideration of the services rendered by Project Queens hereunder, owner agrees to pay Project Queens in accordance with the terms, rates, and conditions set forth in the rate schedule attached, whether the lease is procured by Project Queens, owner, or outside broker. The commission shall be payable to Project Queens when the lease and document have been fully executed. And it doesn't matter if it's a lease or a sale. On a lease, it's like when the lease is fully executed. On a sale, it's when the contract is fully executed, right? So there's a rate schedule on the bottom, which it refers to, which, well, I don't want to show everyone my rate schedule. Hold on real quick. Okay, that's right. All right, so you can see it. It's 3% for a sale. And by the way, this always changes. I would say it depends on how much the asset is, what we're selling. You know, this was just what was here before. It could go anywhere. It could go any which way. It's a negotiation. Number 6, I have it crossed out because I usually pay for all the marketing, unless for the bigger projects, then I uncross it and then people give me a budget. So Project Queens shall have a marketing budget equal to $0 for the sole purpose of advertising and promotion related to the property. Owners shall have the right to approve any such expenditures. In addition, Project Queens will have the right to erect signage on the property in such a way that it deems most beneficial to the leasing of the property. Owners shall reimburse Project Queens for any such expenses within 10 days after the request. So what kind of stuff does Project Queens pay for and a lot of brokers pay for? All your standard marketing brochures, everything like that. But, you know, sometimes people want to get reimbursed for that stuff. But so for I can only speak for Project Queens, right? If the signage is huge, right? I recently did a window sticker banner on a brand new development that's, you know, an amazing building, and it cost me $5,000 for the design, printing, and installation of it. So stuff like that, you know, I might want to get reimbursed for. In LoopNet, when you list the property, I think it's like, I don't know, it's like under $100 a month or something. But if you want to upgrade it to like the gold or platinum or diamond package or whatever, it could get really expensive, like $500 a month, $1,000 a month, something like that, just so your project's on top. And if you're doing a large development or a very big deal, sometimes the owners want it up there, and you're like, dude, I'm not gonna spend freaking $500 a month just to put your LoopNet ad on the top. And then you negotiate with them. Maybe they'll pay for it. They say, fine, I'll pay for it, and they'll give you a budget. So if it's $500 a month and you have a 6-month listing, that's $3,000. You might throw $3,000 in here, whatever it is. Bigger projects sometimes have like press releases and stuff. So that's the marketing budget. All right, 7. Owners shall recognize and pay Project Queens as the broker with respect to any transaction consummated by owner within 1 year following the expiration of earlier termination of this agreement. 1 year. With any prospective tenant Project Queens introduces to the property. Project Queens shall provide owner with a list setting forth all such prospective tenants within 30 days following the expiration or early termination of the agreement. So what this is saying is that if you bring clients during the exclusive to the property and your exclusive expires, you can provide a list of who you brought and still be entitled to the commission if they consummate or if they end up doing the deal within a year, and that's what it says here. So this is another negotiable point in the listing agreement. A lot of owners will say 1 year is too long, you know. Some owners will say, look, what are you going to provide me a list of 1,000 people from an Excel file? So, and they're not going to agree to that. So this can be negotiated as well. So I want to just recap what can be negotiated. Like this could be negotiated. The marketing budget can be negotiated. The expiration date is obviously negotiated. The commission is negotiated. There's another thing. Oh, whether this listing agreement actually continues on a month-to-month basis until canceled by either party, 30-day prior notice. Some people don't want the listing to continue month-to-month. Actually, most people don't even notice this is here. And what ends up happening in reality, or in my reality, because we're a small, flexible company, is it's in there, but I don't hold anyone to it. And if you're working with a larger, more corporate company, if you're owner, then you better guarantee that brokerage is going to hold you to it. So that's why these things are very, very important. When you do commercial real estate, a lot of these owners do work with larger companies, so they're very I used to be so articulate. I haven't lost all my vocabulary. They're very particular about the clauses and the words and stuff, and they follow this contract. At the end of the day, after all your discussions, after all your negotiations, after all your friendly relationships, 3 to 6 months down the line, that's all forgotten, a lot of the time. And you refer back to this document for what's the proper procedure. So if you're just throwing this out there and you don't even know what you're getting signed, a lot of the time that could come back to bite you. And even more importantly, because we're talking about clauses that can be negotiated, you could have done your due diligence, right? You could have discussed the market. You could have shown how professional you are and built your relationship. And at the time of the lease signing, the listing agreement signing, these negotiation points come up. And because you didn't read your own listing agreement and have no idea what's going on, when you start trying to negotiate, and they're getting really deep into the listing agreement and saying, well, I don't think this, I don't think that, and you're just giving these weirdo responses like refer to my broker, or like, well, actually this is that, and it doesn't even make sense. They might have second thoughts and say, well, this agent, I thought they were good, but it's very apparent to me now that they have no idea what their own listing agreement is, and by their funky responses, I don't really necessarily trust them to work on my property anymore. So know your contracts. All right. We're on 8. For the purpose of this agreement, the term owner shall be deemed to include any business organization of owner or business organization formed by any person who becomes affiliated or associated with such business organizations, which makes use of information furnished by Project Queens, or which consummates a transaction with any of the tenants procured during the term hereof, according to paragraph 7. So this is because a lot of these properties are owned by LLCs that, or have partnerships. If they shift the ownership entity during the time, that you're entitled to however they shift it. You just can't just like switch the name on the thing and say, oh, that contract has a different company name, right? So that's null and void. That's not, obviously that's not legit. All right. Number 9, the parties hereof shall operate in a professional and ethical manner at all times during the term of this agreement. I would hope so. Number 10, owner acknowledges that Project Queens may represent both potential buyer and owner simultaneously with respect to the same transaction, and owner consents to such dual representation. If you're a resi agent and you're used to the MLS exclusive and the agency disclosure form, then you know what this means. You are either representing the seller or the buyer, or your dual agent not representing either, but consummating the transaction as a facilitator, right? So this is just saying you can do the deal like that. Number 11, this agreement shall be governed by the laws of the state of New York and contains the entire understanding of the parties with respect to the subject matter hereof. So in English, that means we're following New York State law, and you got your license from New York State, and that's the DOS is everything, right? The only thing that I abide by, strictly 100% is the DOS and New York State guidelines. That is the law that governs our licenses, and you should have respect for that. Well, you should do whatever you want. I have respect for that, right? When it comes to other organizations that you're signed up for, right? Or other designations that you have, right? And they say, these are our guidelines. Personally, I don't care. A lot of their suggestions are actually really good, and I learn from them, and I take those into consideration, but I don't feel bound by them. I'm bound by the New York State DOS, and I operate within those frames, and I make anything above and beyond that, I make my own rules for. And in brokerages, that requires that kind of like hustling mindset. All right, anyway, and that's it. Then two people sign. A lot of the time, there's a signature page to follow where you have the signature only here. This way, people don't have to print out a million things, and they just print this, sign, and you can email this back on the same thread with this document, and it's legit. So a lot of the time, if you wonder, is email a legit form of communication? It is. DocuSign is legit as well, and these are like governed by don't quote me on this. You could probably quote me on this, but they're governed by the law, like New York State law, that this form of transfer of the documents is legit. You don't have to drive over to them and get their physical signature or anything like that. Although that does happen sometimes too. And what we usually do here is fill all this out and email it over to the seller and let them sit on it for a day or two. And then when they come back, they have their adjustments. We talk about it over the phone, fix it, and get it signed. The commission rate schedule is something that I think everyone wants to see and talk about like, I know there's some like, I'm gonna put X here, right? The commission is set however it's set, and people have all different ranges. Like the more, I need a haircut. The more, another one. The more I would say, like there's a lot of different thought processes about this. I'm just gonna go over it real quick because this is about the listing agreement, not really about commissions, but like you could charge whatever you want kind of, as long as it's under New York State guidelines. Some people want to push for the highest commission possible, and more power to you. I don't think I'm aggressive enough to do that. I'm too much of a wussy to do that. And I kind of charge what I think is right and what's market rate, and I kind of look at my own services first and charge what I think I should get paid, based on the market, based on how much cost I have, based on what I think is right. And really, if you remember the very, very first class, a derivation of the value of the asset comes from, let's say if we're leasing, like it comes from the rent rolls, right? How much money this person makes in a sale is very beneficial to them. So there, if you really, really understand this business, you could kind of reverse engineer like what's a fair amount based on like how much they're like making, how much impact you're having on their own bottom line, right? And if you're really good, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. But in between this and that, like to get there, to get the highest price, to provide the best service, because service is also part of this fee. Like how much service are you providing? How much headache are you saving your client? The larger the company, the more services they have. So the more they'll charge. The larger the company, the more expenses they have. They have multiple offices, they have accounting staff, they have research staff, they have executive staff, and then they have all these brokers underneath. So they have to charge you a higher split, right? And at the same time, they charge a client a higher fee. And this is so their business can maintain and survive. So when I see like a very, very, very big company charging like big rates, you see that all the time, right? I don't charge the same rate because that to me doesn't make business sense. Like I'm not doing all the stuff they're doing, you know? So I charge less naturally. So I'm not trying to undercut them. I'm not devaluing myself. I know where my value lies, you know? And at the end of the day, it's because I'm so good at some particular market that I don't care what services they're providing. They can have a 10-person team showing how awesome they are. If I am the one with the connections to close a deal and I know I have it, I'll charge a little more. I'm like, forget their stuff. I'll charge you, you know, I'm going to charge something close to them because I got what you want and I don't need all those fluffy services. Or maybe I'll give a discount anyway and be like, look, I don't have all those expenses, so I'll get you the deal done, but still charge a little less. These are all negotiations, and obviously this is one of the biggest ones. Payment is due when it's payable to the broker, and these are all these definitions similar to the above definitions, just to make sure everything's legit, legalese wise. There is a lease agreement, which actually I think I just pretty much copied it, so we don't have to go over that. But we can talk. Stop share. We can talk a little bit about the leasing because everyone's curious about how that works, and because we're talking about the listing agreement, the fees really do matter. I should have titled this listing agreement and like commission calculation. Like 30 more people would have joined. So in leasing, what you see a lot in Queens and in like Flushing and a lot of neighborhoods is get a month from the tenant, right? So there's a range. You can get a month from the tenant, or get your fee from the tenant, where the owner's paying zero, or like a lot of the larger companies, they charge the owners a lot of money. And again, this is this range of services, right? And it's also the market. And there's two things involved here. If they tell you to just get your fee from the tenant, one of the things that's involved is that maybe their property's so hot that they can lease it themselves. But if you can bring someone of value, then great. The other part of the thing is they know you just don't know what you're doing. So they're basically like go fuck yourself. So you can go that way, but if you're leasing this exclusively, that gives problems in the co-broke, right? Because now you're gonna have deals die because you and another broker are trying to get tons of money from this tenant. Even if there's no co-broke, then a lot of the time the tenant don't want to pay. And that really depends on the market, right? So, you know, I do deals like that sometimes, but not really, but case by case, sometimes it makes sense. The other part of it is really goes back to our first class on the derivation of the value. So it's like, if ownership has a vacant building, there's a cost to that. So if you could fix that for them quicker, then you're adding value. You're not getting a free lunch, right? You're not just slapping some stuff online and bringing whoever and doing a job that anyone could have done or they could have done, right? You're doing something that they couldn't have done because you're a good broker, you're marketing everywhere, you're spending a lot of time and effort, and you're saving them money even after they pay you. That's what you really want to do. By getting a higher price, right? So after you do all this marketing, you take the effort, right? And this is for a lot of agents out there, particularly the ones that are pushing the deals to get done quick, particularly to the ones that kind of shut off another agent's deal that's better just because they don't co-broke because they want to eat all the money. Like, that's total bullshit. And the idea behind what you're hired to do, right, is to take my direct offer and the other two agents' offers and get the price and terms as high as possible for the owner, if that's what you're hired to do, which usually we are, right? And then they can take this new valuation or this new cash flow, which gives their building a new valuation, and they can go ahead and refinance the building or do something and pull a lot of money out because of it, right? So in that way, you're providing tremendous back-end value for your client, right? It's not just about vacancy. It's about the value of the building and the financing, which is later classes. But because of this, you deserve to get paid. And even through getting paid, you're still providing tremendous value. And if you can, you should get paid a lot because you're providing that much value. And the idea behind all of this, we're going to close this up in a little bit, but you saw how many points there are to negotiate, right? In the listing agreement. And then to negotiate your fees. Like, you really want, there's two parts of this again. You really want to understand the value of the properties, how they're valued, and what you're bringing to the table to adjust that value. So your pay, even if it's X percent, it might seem like a big paycheck, but to the overall valuation thing, like, you deserve that. You know, they'll be happy to pay. Like, you can look at it like, okay, so let's say you don't want to pay me that, I'm going to take this deal away. I'm going to take it somewhere else. And then they'll be like instinctively in their gut, in their business calculus, they're like, no, come on. Look, they're going to go to their partners like, look, just paying the thing. It's like, it's not even a big deal. Like, come on, well, what are we doing here? Let's lock in this deal, pay the broker, and then be on our way. That's what it should be, right? Because if it's not that, and they're like, why the hell am I paying this broker this money? They're not adding any value. They're not doing this. I could go down the street and get this myself. Then why should they pay you? You know, you need to provide value. You need to provide value for service, not just lock in money on a contract, right? So that's the negotiation of the fee. But now we're talking about, like what I said, people don't want to pay people for no reason, even if you got the exclusive. Having the exclusive and just closing some property randomly is not a freaking reason why you should get paid a bunch of money, right? That's why that's why people don't sign exclusives. They're like, I'm not going to give this dude free money because he locked down my signature on some document. Like, I'm not cursed that much, but, you know, they're like, F that. So when you hit them with if you don't have the reputation, if you don't have the skill set, if you don't have the network, if you don't have any reason of why these people are going to sign you up, they're not, right? At the very, very least, you should be able to negotiate the contract in a way that's safe for your client, right? So they could sign you up and not feel like they're screwed, right? Especially if it's like a 6-month listing or whatever. And it's like, if this person just goes to sleep or vacation for 6 months and somehow we lease it ourselves, we still have to pay them, right? Or even worse, it's just they don't do anything. It's just vacant for 6 months, right? We talked about it last time. But on top of that, we look at all these terms and make sure it's like they're going to be safe from a shitty agent, right? A lot of the time, if they knew you were really good, and even if you had the sweetest pitch, if they believed it, then they'll sign you up, no problem. The problem is everyone just talks all this shit, and then when they go to the listing appointment, blah, 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 and they've seen this, done that, had bad experiences before, and they're like, I'm not going to sign this thing, right? And so you toggle it. You toggle the listing agreement to something that makes sense, right? Or you build a better relationship. But we're talking about the listing agreement, right? You toggle it so it makes sense. And what makes sense to me, right, is providing value for the owner and not locking them into some scary large payment for no reason. And the other side of that, you build a better relationship, you provide a better value. If you're a new agent, you come to Project Queens and we help you with all that because we are totally service and value oriented. And I don't even want to get paid if I didn't help out. Just you know, just don't even pay me. Not really, but something like that. If there really are no questions, then we're gonna post this up on YouTube. People can look back on it, and then feel free to email and stuff questions after. And that's it.